I haven't done one of these in a while, so about time we do. I have been reflective and busy. When I talk about the past trauma, of course, it triggers a whole lot of other feelings and I got to process them. But I wanted to talk more about like my celebrity interactions. I've never been like a starstruck kind of gal. You know, when I was a little girl, sure, you know, Joe Dukes Hazzard or fucking Superman. Looking back at my photos and my memories and stuff, I've had interactions with celebrities my entire life. My favorite when I was a kid was Grizzly Adams. That was my whole life goal, was to live in the woods and have wild animals as friends. I wanted to have raccoon friends and skunk friends and bear friends and snake friends, and look at me now, right? And my mom took me up to Danbury, I think it was Danbury, Connecticut or someplace, because I was little. I was about 5 or 6 or 7. And she took me up there and I got to meet Grizzly Adams. And I was so sad that his bear wasn't there. You know? I don't remember the bear's name. And then this funny story. I've always been awkward, obviously. Didn't always fit in. And I was dating this guy, Mike Barletta, for a minute. Like when I was like 18 or something. And we went to the Stop and Shop. It was a weird thing. It's before grocery stores were inside of department stores like Walmart does, you know. So they had Bradley's was a department store in my hometown, and Stop and Shop, and they're connected but not. There's like a wall, but you can walk through. It was kind of open, the cashier area, you know. And as a Stop and Shop, and I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I was fucking stoned, and I don't know. I was in the dairy section. I'll never forget this. And an announcement comes over the radio, and it says, "Hey folks, shopping can be exhausting, you know, it's time to take a break, you know, park your cart, grab the person next to you, and let's have a dance." And the dance music came up, and I'm like, in all my 18 years on earth, I've never heard some shit like that, right? So this fellow walks up to me, and y'all, he looked like fucking, you know, Superman from the movie. And he's like, "Would you like to dance?" And I was like, mortified. I was like, I also was really fucking stoned and socially awkward. So I'm like, I don't know how to dance. He's like, "Come on, it'll be fun." I'm like, "No, fine, thanks." And he's like, "All right." And he grabbed somebody else and they danced and shit. And I was like, "All right." So I go around shopping some more and I run up with Michael. And I was like, "Man, that was some weird shit, you know?" And he was like, "Yeah, I know." And then the Superman dude walks up to me and he says, "Hey, you just missed a chance to be on TV." I says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, that was candid camera. If you danced with me, it'd have been on candid." I was like, "Ah!" I was like, "I'm so sorry. I really can't dance." And I'm really high right now. And so it turns out it was Superman. So I could have danced with Superman when I was 18, but I certainly did not. I did not do that. Later in life, when I met Billy, and I decided to just stop going chronologically here because it's not a diary. I want to tell you about my adventures. You know, went out to California. We'll get into that at some point in time. But in 1994, I was pregnant with my first child, Wolf. And doctor was like, "Man, it's going to be a difficult pregnancy. You know, you need to stay in bed rest." And for those of you who've met me, you know, me sitting still is pretty fucking no. So, so Billy actually did a nice thing. Fucking before he was on meth. So that's probable there. And he trades my Mustang, an 81 Mustang I won in a football bet with some guy. True story. And he says, "All right, I got us this conversion van, and what we're going to do is we're going to load up all our jewelry and leather making tools, and we're going to get the dogs and the cats in the van, and Michael and some other people, and we're going to go follow the Grateful Dead for the summer. This way you can sit still and be surrounded by your friends and still eat well and, like, you know, and have a good time. And you know, be active without having to move from bed, because the whole back of it was a bed." So that was fucking cool. And along those adventures, we ended up in Atlanta, Georgia. And I've learned long ago the importance of learning how to be a chameleon. You can't be like, "I'm a hippie," and then just be a hippie all the time, because then you got to fucking butt heads with people. Choose your battles, right? So we're selling in this parking lot near the Grateful Dead show. And I'm very pregnant. I was, I would say probably about 5 months pregnant at that time. And I had to pee and I was really thirsty. So I put my normal people clothes on. And I go ahead and go over to this nearby cafe bar. It was kind of a real high-end bar, you know, to go pee. And they're like, well, you got to buy something. I'm like, oh, yeah, absolutely. I was like, but I can't, I don't want to drink. I'm pregnant, you know, no alcohol. I was like, could you make me like a fruit punch? They're like, sure, you know. So they did that. And there was a woman and a man on stage, you know, playing guitar and singing and such. And I went pee, got my little drink, and decided, you know, the AC was nice, you know. It's fucking hot. Summer in Atlanta. Not called Hotlanta for nothing. And so that gets done, and there's not a lot of people. So when she comes up to the bar, you know, she's like, oh, hey, you know, my name's Jennifer. I'm like, that's my name. And we both said at the same time, just like everybody else. So we just started shooting the breeze. She's like, let me buy you a drink. I'm like, oh, I'm pregnant. And I didn't really look pregnant until I was like 7 months. So she's like, oh, okay. So she got me a fruit punch. We're talking, and her boyfriend's name was Brett, and we're hanging out. And I was like, what brings you to Atlanta? And she's like, oh, I'm here to sign a record deal. I was like, what? She was like, yeah. I says, that's fucking cool. She goes, what brings you here? I'm like, I am pregnant and following the Grateful Dead because I had bed rest. She's like, oh my God, that's so cool. And just then Billy comes in, you know, and he sits with us, introduced himself as Hawk, because he never could just go by his name. I told her my name was Jennifer Raven, you know. I've gone by that since I was like 19 or something. And we ended up spending many hours talking between her sets, and it was great, you know. We ended up going back to the van a couple hours later, and she told me her nickname was Jewel. Nobody ever heard of the musician Jewel yet. And about a year later, I say, after I had the baby and such, Billy comes running in the house one day, and he says, oh my God, check this out. I says, what? He says, I got a new album, you know, it's by this musician Jewel. I've never been a big media person, like not TV, a whole lot of radio and stuff. So I'm like, oh, fuck. Wait, did we meet someone named Jewel? It can't be the same person. He goes, yeah, I think it is. She did say she was signing a record label. I was like, oh, yeah, she did. So we're playing the music. It's fucking awesome, you know, and he's reading, you know, they have inserts in the CDs and the albums. I know I'm old. And he's reading the dedication. He goes, oh, my fucking God, look. And there it was in the dedication, like somewhere down way to the bottom. But she put our names in there. She's like, you know, thanks to Hawk and Raven, or Raven and Hawk. I don't remember how it was now. And still have that CD to this day. And it was just a really cool fucking story. But I was just thinking about that, and I told Michael that yesterday. So I'll go ahead and tell the world that one. I've got many stories. I'll tell you about my adventures to California next, but probably be a few days before I do another. So have fun.